Hi everyone. This week we'll talk about existential therapy. For existential therapy, I will have some questions and you can write them under the video in comments part. These are the questions that I'm asking you to question in yourselves. For example, what's the meaning or purpose of your life? Think about it. For your life, what's its meaning? And what do you want from your life? And thirdly, if you only had 30 days left, what would your feelings be and what would you do? So please just write your answers under the video. Okay, let's go with some brief introduction to existential therapy. Actually, existential therapy is considered as an approach, but basically we are after its philosophy, its defending. Um, Normally in the literature or in field practice, it's not considered as a basic therapeutical approach, but rather a philosophy that a therapist follows. And the existential approach was developed as a reaction to psychoanalysis and behaviorism in its essence. You already know that psychoanalysis sees the individual as a primarily determined by unconscious forces, irrational drives, and past events, and behaviorists see the individual as primarily determined by social cultural conditioning, but existentialists don't defend these approaches. And they basically say that we are free beings. An existential approach argues that um, we are creatures that have the chance and the ability to choose for ourselves in our lives. And if we are able to choose for ourselves, and this means that we are free, and if we are able to choose for ourselves, then we should be responsible for the consequences of our choices. This is the cliche, actually, you already have heard in your daily lives that um, in life there are always different ways, different paths that you can consider walking on. But if you choose to walk from one path, then this means that you are not taking into consideration the other path. Um, so you are living the other alternative path. So um, based on your choices, you need to take their responsibilities, existential approach states. And according to this approach, clients are not sick, um, but people are in need of producing a meaningful life, productive life. So they don't see people to be cured in the therapy sessions. To consider the existentialists' view of human nature, actually they say that we have the capacity for self-awareness because we are basically free beings. Nobody stops me, nothing stops me. I'm free in exploring myself, in becoming more aware of myself, okay? So I cannot blame anyone else or any other conditions for things that are not happening or happening. So on everything I have the control and the ability to make some choices, right? And they say that human beings have a concern to preserve their uniqueness and their identity. So they say that in order to achieve that unity, that uniqueness, we can know ourselves if we know other people and if we interact with them as well. And they say that the significance of our existence and the meaning of life are never fixed once and for all. Instead, we recreate ourselves through our project. So we don't have only one meaning in life, and they may change. Our self-awareness, the way we look at ourselves, the way we choose things to happen in our lives, they may differ from time to time as we develop, as we interact with other people. And at the basis of their approach, there is this concept loneliness. They say that we are alone. And at the basis of their approach, I like this very much. Um, we are born alone. Yes, the journey from our mother's womb to earth, we take that journey alone and we die alone. So aloneness is at the basis of their approach. And they say that we have anxiety, and anxiety is a part of the human condition. It's inevitable not to have any anxiety. So, most of the people in nowadays, in today's world, are suffering from anxiety disorders. Of course, we are not talking about a disorder here, but of course, we will have anxiety. It's normal by our nature. And they say that that is the ultimate truth. And if we are aware that that is a reality, then this means live your life to your full potential, right? If that is the ultimate end, ultimate truth, then this will trigger to live your life fully. Okay, existentialists refer to some basic dimensions of human condition, and they have some propositions. First one is the capacity for self-awareness. They say that freedom, choice, and responsibility constitute the foundation of self-awareness. As long as we become more aware of ourselves, then we will be more free. We will free ourselves from the restrictions we put on ourselves. And they say that we are finite, which means we will die. So we don't have unlimited time to do what we want in life. This is our limitation to freedom, as it was stated in the previous slide. So we have the potential to take action or not to take action. And taking no action, which means inaction, is a decision as well, and it will have some consequences. As long as we take the responsibilities for those consequences, it's okay. And meaning in life is the product of discovering how we are thrown or situated in this world, and then through commitment living creatively. But everyone creates their um, own living, own commitment on their own selves. This is something unique. Our meaning in life is not the same. Um, everyone is free in their own selves. They have their own decisions, and as a result, the way they create their lives is unique to themselves. And if we increase our awareness of the choices which are available to us, we also increase our sense of responsibility for these choices and their consequences. And as I've said before, we are subject to loneliness, meaningless, emptiness, guilt, and isolation. And as we said before, we are basically alone. Um, we come to this world alone and leave this world alone. And to go on with their second proposition, it is freedom and responsibility. We are repeating the concepts, but in order for you to understand deeply, freedom is this: we are responsible for our lives, for our actions, and for our failures to take action. So, all of these give us freedom. All of these make us free, actually. If we are capable of doing these, if we can choose for our lives, then this means that we are free according to existential perspective. They say that we have no control over our birth. Yes, we don't have any control, but the manner in which we live and what we become are the results of our choices. In therapy sessions, of course, this is based on your approach that you are following. But if you are following existentialist perspective, you would most probably ask your clients, okay, let's say Ali Bey. Ali Bey, do you live the life that you want to live? Are you the person whom you really want to be? Okay, these are some potential questions from the perspective of an existential approach. And because of the freedom to choose, we must accept the responsibility to direct our lives. And it's possible to avoid this reality, which is to accept responsibility by making excuses for whom we are becoming. Because you can, all of us say, but mostly you say that the instructor asked very hard questions. Okay? What you do is you are blaming someone, right? Or when you got a bad grade according to you, you say that, oh my God, it's bad fate. The questions were very difficult. Or I'm so much unlucky. I was sick today. Okay, these are excuses. According to existential perspective, you don't blame anyone else for anything. Anything. According to this approach, something may happen to you, and also there are some things that you choose to have happen to you. So we may not have some control on the things that happen to us. For example, we don't choose to experience an earthquake, right? But in order not to get hurt very much from an earthquake situation, what I can do and what I choose to do is to prepare a kit to get prepared for earthquake. They mean it. If you don't prepare your kit, and if something bad happens to you as a result of an earthquake, then you say that, oh my God, it's bad fate. But existential approach states that we should choose something. We should take responsibility for the things that we got into action and for the things that we didn't move ourselves. And and as we say, this is bad fate, this is the way I'm made, I couldn't help what I did. This is inauthenticity, not being real actually. And as we said, we are free to choose among alternatives. And if you are believing in destiny, then being free to choose among alternatives actually play a large role in shaping our destinies. But having chosen not to choose something leads to existential guilt, which means that actually in ourselves we implicitly or explicitly know that we have the chance and the freedom to choose for ourselves. But some people choose not to choose for themselves. And as a result, inside us, this leads to existential guilt because by choosing not to choose for yourself, you are like betraying your life, your existence. So inside, deep inside somewhere, this leads to existential guilt. Um, okay, we mentioned these, and this is important. We are our choices, which makes us, which make us authentic, and we are living by being true to our own evaluation of what is a valuable existence for ourselves. So this requires some courage. First, to ask ourselves, am I the person whom I want to be? So after questioning this, you should move on. You just choose for yourself and have the courage to be who you are. Okay, to go on with the proposition 3, this is striving for identity and relationship to others. And we had said that we are after preserving our uniqueness and centeredness. And of course, while we are trying to keep our uniqueness, since we are social creatures, um, we have an interest to relate to other people and nature as well. So we must first trust ourselves to search within and find our answers. And discovering a self, creating an identity is not an automatic process, but it takes courage. And our great fear is that we will discover that there is no core, no self, and that they are merely reflections of everyone's expectations of them. So in therapies, we challenge the clients in what ways they have lost their touch with their identity and letting others to design their lives actually. If our being becomes rooted in others' expectations, we become strangers to ourselves. Arkadaşlar terapi ortamında danışanınız geliyor. Ve seanslarımda mesela danışanlarıma sorduğumda diyelim ki Hilal olsun danışanımın ismi. Diyorum ki Hilal Hanım, sizin bu hayatta kendiniz için istediğiniz ne var? Yok. O biliyor musunuz bazen 2-3 seans alıyor. Danışanın kendisi için bu hayatta ne istediğini bulup keşfetmeye çalışması bazen daha uzun. Diyorum ki gerçekten hayatta olmak istediğiniz kişi misiniz? Ya da istediğiniz hayatı mı yaşıyorsunuz? Diyor ki hayır bu hayat değil benim istediğim diyor. Tamam. Bu yaşadığınız hayat kimin hayatı? Aslında hani annemler böyle uygun gördükleri için. İşte ne bileyim mesela içki içmeyi çok merak ediyorum diyor. Ama bizim ailede bu uygun değil diyor. O yüzden içmiyorum diyor. Tamam bu bile bir hayatın bir parçası. Değerler var bunun içinde belirli bir kültür var ama hala daha kişi ne yapıyor? Ailesinin kendi için ya da kültürün kendi için şekillendirdiği şekilde yaşıyor hayatını. Yani kendisi için istediği şey daha henüz mesela seçmiyor. Ya da ailesi ona öğretmen olması için baskı yapmış ya da ailesinin ondan beklentisi öğretmen olması. Ama o aslında bir dansçı olmak istiyor. Eee, haliyle tüm bunlarda seans sırasında danışana seçebilecek özgürlükte ve beceride olduğunu göstermek, kendi hayatı için seçim yapmasını sağlamak ama tabii ki hep şeyi yansıtıyoruz. Biz ne zaman kendimiz için bir seçim yapmak zorunda kalsak bunun sonuçları olacak ve kendi kimliğimizi oluşturmak, üstümüzde başkalarının bizden istediği hayatı yaşamak yerine alternatife yöneleceğimiz zaman bu sonuçların arasında bizim hayatımızı şekillendirmek için görev almış, bunu kendine misyon edinmiş insanları kızdırmak da var. Onlarla ilişkilerimizin bozulma ihtimali de var. Ama Existential Approach diyor ki varoluşçu yaklaşım. Bu hayat kendin için kendinin peşinden gideceksin ve bazen bu ilişkiler bozulabilir. Önemli olan sen bunların sorumluluğunu alıp sonuçlarına katlanabilecek misin? Mevzu temelde bu. So, in order to choose for yourself and for your life, you should be courageous enough. And Therefore, you should be aware of your finite nature, and you should take courage to discover the true ground of your being, and you should face your fears. Yes, as a result of questioning the meaning of your life, or as a result of exploring yourself, you can discover that actually there is no core or no self. You haven't done something for yourself so far, or you even don't know about yourself. Here we use the techniques of confronting and for our clients, and as a result we say that, okay, until this time you weren't aware of yourself. You didn't choose for yourself, but this is today, and you can start to choose for yourself from now on. Okay? Um, of course, in especially therapeutic sessions, why we need courage is to be able to face the uncertainty of life. Of course, we are choosing for ourselves, but always there is the uncertainty in life, and it is really difficult to face this. But as a result of feeling yourself free to choose for yourself, then you will know that, okay, I'm choosing something for myself and I don't know the consequences, what the consequences will be. But okay, I'm choosing it, and whatever the consequences be, I will take the responsibilities of them. So this is also freeing you after a moment. And the experience of aloneness. I had mentioned this a little bit, but um, I think this is the good point that we need to consider. We alone must give a sense of meaning to life, and we alone must decide how we will live. Okay? This is something unique to us. Nobody else should decide for ourselves. And if we are unable to tolerate ourselves when we are alone, how can we expect anyone else to be enriched by our company, right? Now, at this point, maybe you can think of your relationships. For example, are you able to stay alone? What happens when you stay alone? Are you able to tolerate your loneliness? Are you able to stay with yourself? Or do you always want to be with other people? And what about those people? Are they happy with your company? So these may be the questions that you are going to ask yourselves. You don't need to write under the video. And the experience of relatedness is another point. We depend on relationships with others, right? We are social creatures, and we want to be significant in another's world. So when we are able to stand alone and tap into our own strength, our relationships with others are based on our fulfillment, not our deprivation. Burayı da açayım arkadaşlar. O kadar çok seanslara kadın ve erkek danışanlarım bir partnerim yok diye gelir ki ah, ve arkasından neden benim bir partnerim yok sorusu gelir. Çalışırsınız, bir sürü dinamik var. Eğer böyle bir existential approach açısından bir teknik kullanacaksanız, takip ettiğiniz bir filozof, yani felsefesi de olabilir ya da böyle bir teknik olarak confrontive de olabilirsiniz. Hep danışanlarıma şey sorarım. Yalnız nasılsınız? Böyle dururlar, yani yalnızlığı pek sevmem. Neden? Sıkılırım. Neden? Aklıma bir sürü düşünce gelir. Kaygılarım gelir. Tamam mı? Çünkü evet, yalnız olduğumuzda bir sürü şey tetiklenir. Ama kişi kendi başına, kendiyle kalamadığında ilişki kurmakta zorluk çekiyor. Ya da ilişkileri kendine bir araç olarak kullanıyor. Ama yalnız kalmayayım da o anki eğlence ihtiyacım, biriyle dans etme ihtiyacım, biriyle kakarikikiri yapma ihtiyacım, biriyle akademik sohbet yapma, ödev hazırlama ihtiyacım karşılansın. Aslında bu ilişki olmuyor, değil mi? Yani hala özünde ilişki, ama samimi ve otantik bir ilişkiden çok hani daha çıkara bağlı, birilerini kendi ihtiyaçlarımız için kullandığımız, yani kendimizdeki eksiklikleri gidermek için kullandığımız ilişki türüne dönüyor. Otantik olmayan bir şeyi de özellikle partner ilişkisinde karşı taraf bir yandan sonra eğer o da ihtiyaç karşılamıyorsa sizinle bir yandan sonra fark eder ve o ilişki yürümez ya da başından zaten ilişki olmaz. O yüzden we need to be able to stay alone with ourselves. Okay? And the other thing is to struggle with our identity because of fear of dealing with our aloneness. Some of us get caught in ritualistic behavior patterns that stuck us to images. The identity we acquired in early childhood. Um, Actually, when you fear being alone, um, this is like keeping yourself in a comfort zone. Okay, you keep doing the same things in your life, although you know, or maybe you don't know, that they are not working anymore. Okay, so you repeat them, and in this vicious cycle, you are not able to move forward. So at this point, especially as a therapeutic intervention, you can say to your client, when did you lose yourself in your life the first time? When did you forget yourself? This would be an effective question to ask. And to go on with our proposition 4, it is the search for meaning. The human being is by nature in search of meaning and purpose in life. And these are the questions that we follow in our lives. Why am I here in this world? What do I want from life? What gives my life purpose? Where is the source of meaning for me in life? Maybe you can ask these questions to yourselves. Why are you here? Why are you in this world according to you? So, and the questions in therapy we generally ask, do you like the direction of your life? Are you pleased with what you are now and what you have been becoming? And if you are confused about who you are and what you want for yourself, what are you doing to get some clarity on this? Okay. So these questions lead our clients to first think, then to explore themselves, then to be aware of themselves, and then exploring that they are free to choose, and then to choose to act. We hope they may choose not to act as well. Okay. And here, while we are in search of meaning in our lives, there is this problem of discarding old values, discarding traditional and imposed values without creating other suitable ones to replace them. So, all of us have traditional and imposed values in our lives. As I've said before, maybe my parents' values and traditions are on not having any alcohol, okay, not coming home late. These are the values or traditions, and they are imposed to us. We grow up by learning these, right? So, in order to search for meaning in life, you have to discard these to create a new self, to strive for meaning in your life. And so, this requires seeking for new ones and to replace them with the old ones. Okay? And we have this the reality of meaninglessness. If meaningless, not worth to continue struggle or live, um, this means that you feel everything is empty and doesn't have any meaning. So, as a result, you don't have anything to struggle for in this life. And the accompanying thoughts to these meaningless concepts are I'm going to die. So, what are all those things for? And this is the basic things. I'm gonna die. Why should I do anything for my life or anything? And this will bring this emptiness. And we have this existential vacuum concept. This happens when someone does not busy him or herself with some routine or work. If you don't have anything that you are busy with, then you will experience an existential vacuum as if you are not worth living. Okay? So, in order to in order not to have such a feeling of emptiness, you should create a meaning. Okay? We don't find meaning always by searching for it. You create it. Okay? You don't just find it on the street. Okay. So for our clients to create new meanings for themselves, logotherapy is used in um, therapy sessions. And based on logotherapy, actually creating meaning means suffering as well. You cannot just happily create meaning because um, discarding the old values, um, having the courage to choose for yourself, and as I said before, sometimes getting into conflicts with people around you, these will make you suffer from the process, okay? And but if you don't run away from this pain, then this suffer can end up in your achievement. There is this saying that we don't grow up, we can't grow up without suffering, okay? So, um, in order to create new meaning, we should have commitment to creating, loving, working, and building something in life. And at the basis of everything, don't forget that meaning doesn't come from the air, but you create it. If you have difficulty creating it yourself, then um, this can be done in a session which is utilizing logotherapy. And the fifth proposition is that anxiety is a condition of living, and it arises from one's strivings to survive. And existential anxiety is an unavoidable result of being confronted with the givens of existence, which are death, freedom, choice, isolation, and meaninglessness. Existential anxiety arises as we recognize the realities of our mortality, our confrontation with pain and suffering, and our need to struggle for survival and our basic fallibility. And we experience it as we become aware of freedom, and as we feel responsible from the consequences of accepting or rejecting that freedom. See, anxiety comes with birth and ends up with death. It's all around in life and it's real. In order to face myself, in order to choose for myself and for my life, while I'm feeling myself in a very empty situation, while I see no meaning in this life, there is always anxiety accompanying us, and this is normal. Okay, it's the condition for living. But of course, anxiety is classified under two categories, and they are important to consider. When we are considering normal anxiety, these are the appropriate responses to an event being faced, and they don't need to be repressed, can be used as a motivation to change, okay? For example, having some anxiety before entering an important exam is very motivating, it's necessary. But while we are talking about neurotic anxiety, this is anxiety about concrete things that is out of proportion to the situation. And they are generally out of our awareness. And sometimes they tend to immobilize us. For example, facing existential anxiety involves viewing life as an adventure rather than hiding behind imagined securities that seem to offer protection. See, here, existential anxiety serves a purpose, right? And you can either choose to view that existential anxiety as an adventure, or you can choose not to face it and to hide behind your security zone, safe zone. So opening to new life means opening up to new anxiety because you are doing something and you don't know what's going to happen. And of course, this will bring up anxiety as well, and it's normal. Okay, and the sixth proposition, awareness of that and non-being, that is not viewed negatively in this approach, but awareness of that gives significance to living, according to existential therapy. And the reality of the future and the inevitability of the death are at the basis of existentialist approach. That is not a threat, it provides the motivation for us to live our lives fully and take advantage of each opportunity to do something meaningful. If you are aware that you are going to die one day, then this means that you will live your life, you will live your day fully and potentially. Okay? And to consider the therapeutic goals in existential approach, the main goal is to expand self-awareness. And the main thing is to move towards authenticity, okay? Exploring that freedom. And by this way, clients are to increase their potential choices. We can help the clients take responsibility for their choices, and we can help the clients experience authentic existence, which means that where they choose for themselves and for their lives in spite of other people's dispositions on them. And here, therapist's function is to understand the client's subjective world and to encourage clients to accept personal responsibility for their choices. And when clients blame others, therapist is likely to ask them how they contributed to their situation because none of the situations develops independent of us. And when clients avoid responsibility, therapists invite clients to accept personal responsibility. And actually, existential we therapists following existential philosophy, let's say, originate from diverse theoretical orientations. And according to them, therapeutic journey is creative and it is unique to each of our clients. Okay, so we may utilize from different therapeutic techniques as well. And what clients experience in therapy is that they are challenged to take responsibility for how they now choose to be, decide how they want to be different, and to take actions. Major themes in therapy sessions, as you may guess, are anxiety, freedom and responsibility, isolation, death, and the search for meaning. So we assist our clients in facing life with courage, hope, and willingness to find meaning in life. When we look at the relationship between therapist and the client, we say that this is a journey taken by therapist and the client, and person to person relationship is very important and key to the therapeutic effect. And at the core of the therapeutic relationships, we have therapist authenticity, which means that you will have respect and faith in the client's potential to cope and discover alternative ways of being. But of course, in order to be able to do this, you need to be authentic, right? And to be authentic, you should ask yourself, whether you are um, living the life you want, whether you are the person whom you want to be, whether you have the courage to choose for yourself. Okay, so firstly, ourselves as therapists. And therapeutic techniques and procedures, actually, existential approach is not technique oriented. As I've said before, they may utilize from different therapeutic techniques from different theoretical orientations. And the interventions are based on philosophical views about the nature of human existence. And the therapist uses him or herself as the core of the therapy. Of course, if she or he has gone his or her therapy, or if she or he is authentic. If so, the therapist can lead and encourage his or her client to take action to choose for him or herself. Okay. And lastly, limitations of this approach is that it doesn't have a systematic principle and practice for therapy. As you can see, this is rather a philosophy um, about the way people exist in this life. There is not any empirical research validation on this approach, and limited to apply to lower functioning clients who need directions, are concerned about meeting basic needs and lack of verbal skills, because yes, we are talking about high level issues, right? So you should consider your client's capacity and enrichment to mention these. Otherwise, it may be difficult for your client to process all of these information. Okay, end of existential therapy. I wonder your answers that I asked at the beginning of our presentation. See you in our second, the other presentation on person-centered therapy, person-centered approach. See you.